Hello everyone and welcome to the Abyss 4.2 review. I'm not going to say much as an intro because, this is a regular thingy. The Abyss has been out for like a week-ish, so it's gone. It's time to, for me to test it out with plenty of stuff and, just to bake it. But before we get into the big details of this Abyss, I was surprised to not see any new enemies appear in this one. Well, we didn't get many new enemies, just a new world boss, but he isn't in this Abyss, which it isn't necessarily super, natural. Yes, sometimes they just wait one patch to bring in the previous bosses, but sometimes they're just in the Abyss. So, yeah, and I mean, it did take a bit for the Abyss to reset, the Abyss reset in the middle, not in the middle, but, there was a lot of time for people to get some experience with a new boss before it's in the Abyss. So again, I genuinely thought the guy was going to be in the Abyss, but yeah, we didn't get any new enemies like the Fatui enemies from before, from the previous area. So yeah, a bit surprising to not see any new enemies, but again, we didn't get many. Of course, as well, we are not looking at floors 9 and 10. You can check the 4.0 Abyss review if you want opinions and help on those floors. As a general first thought of this Abyss, it was pretty fine up until 12.3, where I believe they tinkered a bit with some of the enemy mechanics to make them harder or just a bit more annoying. And they brought back a very annoying boss there. But we need to see what's before that, so let's begin with floor 11 and its first chamber. 11.1 is a monolith defense. In the first half, you will encounter a lot of pyro-related enemies, slimes, hopper flowers, and crabs. An MOCC, they're all spawn they all consecutively spawn, like you kill one, another one spawns up until they ran out of enemies. An MOCC makes this trivial, but I did notice that the crabs really hammer down the poor monolith. They spawn behind you, and I suggest focusing them a bit, because they dealt a lot of damage to the monolith as they spawned, and they didn't aggro that well from far away, like the whopper flowers that will usually tunnel towards you. So be careful of the crabs. I was genuinely surprised to see their damage, just the monolith being at 100% and then suddenly 89% from just one crab attack, and I'm like, what the fuck? And then on the second half, there is a small bunch of ruin enemies. There are 2 snakes that spawn on the left and right, and then a jellyfish in front of you. Go for the jellyfish because the snakes should aggro on you and launch attacks at you and not the monolith. I noticed this when I played, and then when another friend played, I told them test it out a bit quickly for me. And yes, they just focused the jellyfish, and the snakes never hit the monolith. No matter the attack, they never hit it. So yeah, focus the jellyfish. And then after that, there's a solo ruin grader. Actually, it's a very free half for a monolith defense compared to those crabs, especially if you use the tip that just focus the jellyfish and everything's gonna be fine with the 2 snakes. On the second chamber, in its first half, we find a Pyrolector and a Dendrosamachurl. Lately, they've had a very big boner for burning, and it's even in floor 12. The Lector isn't a problem in floor 11, so it's an easy half. And as for the second half, there are a bunch of ruined Doritos and the Crocodile Spirit Spawner. Also very easy, even without Dendro, you should be fine. So yeah, pretty easy 11.2. And on 11.3, there is something weird here. On the first half is a duo of the new Fatui ladies, but they have boss HP bars and names, which are not shown to you before you enter the Abyss and, the opponent details information there. It's not there, they're just named regularly. I guess they are meant to be local legends, even though only the Anemo variant of this enemy exists as a local legend. But even then, that local legend doesn't have any new attacks, it's just a beefed up version of the enemy. And here in floor 11, honestly, they're mostly just like regular enemies. They are nowhere near close to HP and damage as an actual local legend, so they aren't anything special. So it makes the boss HP bar kind of weird. Yeah, it's a bit weird, honestly. But again, I didn't really see any problem with them. They spawn at the same time. They spawn next to each other, and it's like, yeah, they're pretty much just a duo of the same enemy. Like, if again, even if they didn't have the boss HP bar, what the fuck would be the difference? So again, I'm weirded by it. And then the second half is like 2 Vishaps, and that's it. Yeah, I was like, what? So yeah, this floor 11 is fine. No bosses and no special enemies like the water idol on local legends. So honestly, just be a bit careful on the monolith because those fucking crabs can be a bit scary. And after that, it's just beat the shit out of enemies. So yeah. And with that, onwards to floor 12. Floor 12 starts off with a burning half. As I mentioned, lately they have developed a hard-on for burning in the abyss. It's been everywhere lately in the past few abysses. 12-1 starts you with 3 waves consisting of a Pyro Abyss Mage and a Dendro Samachurl. They spawn right in front of you in a line, which is a bit weird. Then again a Pyro Mage and 2 Rift Hounds. And lastly 2 Dendro Alien Breacher Primuses and a Pyro Lector. The wave-based spawns could ruin some teams and their rotations, but the good thing is that everything spawns on you or next to you. So at least you aren't going back and forward the entire arena. Again, the Pyro Mage and the Samachurl spawn right in front of you. Once again, exactly where they spawned is the Pyro Mage and the Rift Hounds. And then just behind where you spawn is the Lector with the Primuses. And so yeah, like you're not running back and forward. But be a bit careful on your rotations so that, they nicely time with killing the enemy, moving to the other enemy and stuff, right? Just be careful of that, And that's it really. It's a burning half, be careful of burning. But other than that, I guess, some healing for the Rift Hands will be nice. And of course, Hydro for the Lector, although actually I've killed the guy pretty easily with just Electro. So yeah, there's a few ways you can kill the Pyro Lector. So yeah, the Pyro Abyss Mages honestly can also be killed easily with Electro for their shields. Hydro is the easy way. The second half, though, of 12-1 contains Asimon. Yeah, they want to push Xeno Sales, and yeah, Paizo and Xeno are here, so of course they're gonna put a Dendro half. But spoiling the other second halves, this is the only boss with an element check, where Dendro and Electro are more needed. But you can easily brute force it, which is interesting, as I think when it was placed in 12-3, its mechanics change a bit. I found myself easily killing Asimon components even with the Geo team, with the Geo boys, when I had trouble with other non-Dendro teams with much better elemental application in 12-3 and with the Geo boys. But here, much easier. So yeah, like they definitely change up and beef up the need for Dendro and Electro when Asimon is in higher chambers. But yeah, the only thing is to be careful of its damage reduction when it is invisible. You kill the components and then you really need to proc Quicken. But at the time, if you don't bring a Dendro focused team, he has some damage reduction. So be a bit careful not to ruin your combos when it is invisible and has damage reduction. Wait a bit and set up for it to appear, and then it takes full damage. But of course, again, just bring Dendro to easily deal with it, and then you're done. Second chamber contains an assortment of mechas in the first half. Once again, it's 3-wave based. You start with some dogs and these anemosonics, as I call them, because they're just the fucking they're just like they're just doing a spin dash. So I'm like, yeah, the anemosonics. And then you move on to the Electro Shield mecha and a Camille, which is Hydro, and she summons a cryo like little thingy. And then lastly, it's basically the Golden Troop slash Maracuse Hunter domain, but the big mecha isn't the Cryo Wrecking Ball one, but the Excavator Pyro one. But then it also has the 2 little things on the side. And then the second half boss is the Dendro Chicken. If you bring Electro here, it's a bit of RNG on what move it will do when it gets hit with Electro. Just hope it's not the one when it runs around. It's a huge time waster, even if it stays down a bit more. But like, it's such a waste, and it also can, like, if you try to chase it, it can actually deal a lot of damage with all these shitty explosions it leaves behind. So just pray a bit that it does some other attack. It has 2 other attacks. One where it swings its head. It can deal a bit of damage, but it at least stays there. And then another one where it just does nothing. I don't know, I think it summons some projectiles, but if you're right on it, they never hit you. And I'm like, well, okay, then this did nothing. So yeah, with Pyro it's a bit easier because it just shakes and then it spawns the little things. You don't even need to kill those little things, so yeah, just that. But other than that, it's a very easy boss. Be a bit careful with the Electro stuff. And here comes the chamber that I noted at the beginning. So 12-3's first half is two waves. The first is two Kairagis and two Pyro Fatui gunslingers. They spawn close to you, but they spawn close around you, but not really close to each other, especially the Fatui Pyroslingers. And some Anemone will help a lot by not allowing the Fatuis to jump back and further away from the Kairagis. Yes, the Kairagis, we know, will jump around and move around with some of their attacks, but it's much better than having the Fatui Pyroslingers jump in different directions and then chasing them. So Summon MOCC will really help you. Of course, also be careful to kill the Kairagi at the same-ish time so that the other doesn't get his health back. If it troubles you, if you have a team that easily just kills them, then that's fine, right? After that, though, is a wave of two Pyrolectors, and this wave was gonna be fine if they didn't put them in opposite sides of the arena, and I swear they changed their shield mechanics. So, problem one is that they are very far away from each other, seriously away. Usually, heralds and lectors are placed kind of close to each other, or you will have heralds that will move towards you since they are melee based. Well, these guys don't do that because they are ranged, they're lectors. And an MOCC, or honestly just Kazuha, is the way to bring them close. You can use charge attacks to stagger them close to each other, but it takes way too much time and stamina, of course. And you can kind of do with like bursts where, enemies are pushed back when you use a burst and some other skills. But with an MOCC, it's just so easy. But they are still far away sometimes for Kazuha to even hit them. And the important thing, if you want to use Kazuha or just an MOCC in general, make sure they aren't doing an attack animation. Or just, they aren't attacking, but make sure they're also just still not in their animation. Because they get extra stagger resistance, and they aren't affected that much by your MOCC. If they are just standing there, or they're close to the end of the animation, the pull is much greater, and it will genuinely save you if you can't really kill them that easily one by one. Right? With however much Hydro, really, it's going to be much better to take them close to each other. But problem two is that shield. I don't remember that well the last time we had Lectors or Heralds in 12-3, but these guys' shields seem buffed up. I was having trouble with a C6 Xingqiu and Kazuha, which should be able to comfortably deal with them. I'm not saying that they should just, one hit their shields, but I shouldn't really be struggling to kill their shields. But I was feeling it. I was feeling like Kazuha wasn't doing anything, even though Swirl should, just add a bit of extra damage. And we're talking about a C6 Xingqiu. And then I brought Furina and Xingqiu with a team that I was testing, and they finished in the same time as Xingqiu and Kazuha. And I was really surprised to see that. And here's another catch, which is why I mentioned the Electro in 12-1. I brought my Al Haytham team on this half to just test it a bit. The Herald on 12-1 got deleted by my Beidou and Fischl. And a bit of burning from Al Haytham, but they proc Overload, so the burning goes away. They also proc Quicken. These guys, though, not even close to doing anything to them. First of all, it was hard because I couldn't push them together that well. But, I don't know, it felt like the Overload wasn't doing as well as it did in 12-1. And I understand that the shield would be buffed up a bit, but they didn't feel really impactful. So, yeah, that's what is pushing me towards the idea that these Lectors are a bit different as well. Another example is that a friend of mine that used Nouvellette, who is a cheat for these guys because his Kamehameha reaches both of the Lectors if you bring them just a bit closer. You don't need to bring them really close. The Kamehameha really hits them. They noticed how Nouvellette just didn't feel that well against these Lectors, and he wasn't doing as good as 12-1. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't necessarily just a solo Nouvellette. Right, so yeah, lots of factors point towards that they have changed. Coupled with the spread spawns, and if both of them are in their shield phase, they will spam attacks and you won't be able to see anything. It depends a bit on your team as well. This just half is just more annoying than hard. So yeah, like it's like, oh my goodness. There were many times where I brought them close, I got them both on the shield phase, and then just my team died, and I'm like, I couldn't see anything. And I told you, bring Kazuha. Good fucking luck with Kazuha's ultimate. So yeah, and if that wasn't enough though, the second half contains the Coppelia version of the Icewind suit, which if you go back to the 4.1 Abyss video, you will hear how much I hate this boss. And now it's in 12.3 instead of 12.2, and it makes it even worse because of their increased stats. This version of the boss sucks major dick, fucked up Nemusia mechanic, and yeah, more on the 4.1 Abyss video. I will not repeat every time I will not repeat my stuff every time these assholes are in the Abyss, just how horrendously badly designed this version of the boss is. The Coppelia's version is much more manageable. This is shit. And that's it. As you can see, everything is okay up until 12.3, where they decided the annoyance meter needed to hit the red spot a bit. It might not be as annoying as the Ruined Serpent at Winnet levels, but it gets close because it is coupled with a really big element check. You can't bring an Nemo or Cryo against the Icewind suit, and you need a lot of Hydro to comfortably deal with the Lectors, and honestly, it is kind of a Kazuha check. Because again, he makes stuff really easy against the Lectors. Well, unless you have Nuvillet, honestly. So yeah, that's it. Like again, all in all, it was fine. Repeating the Abyss with some other teams, I was like, okay, it's fine. Like I beat the second halves with the Geo team. I'm like, hell yeah! Like it's just a boss check. The second half of 12 is just a boss check with just Asimon being a bit of an annoyance because of the element check. But 12-1, just the first halves of 12 are annoying. Like a lot of Hydro needed to comfortably deal with stuff. And I mean, of course, yeah, there's Furina. I know there's Ayato in the banners. Actually, I brought Ayato in Child, and I felt like somehow they didn't do that well against the Lectors. I was like, huh? But, like, come on. And the also annoying thing is that they have lots of enemies. I kind of forgot to mention this. They have lots of enemies that move. 12-1, the Rift Hounds. 12-2, all of the enemies love to move in that one. 12-3, the Pyro Slingers, the Kairagi, all of them just move around like crazy, and I'm not seeing a Kazuha or a Venti in the banners. So there was also that, like this definitely felt a bit like a Kazuha check. So yeah, kind of weird, honestly. Or just a Nuvillet check, because you can just 360 spin with the mouse. And just easily kill spread apart enemies, but again, you get what I'm coming from. Anyways. Hope you liked the video, like it if you liked it. Sub to the channel to help it out, follow me on Twitch for streams, and I see you in another video. Goodbye.